Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Anan Zahra, NPM 53 from class 5A. Today I will review of chemistry education article. The title of the journal that I will review is Multi-Touch Experiment Instruction for a Better Learning Outcome in Chemistry Education. Why I choose this article? I choose this article because of the world condition that are currently hit by a pandemic like this, where in this journal provides very important information, one of which is independent learning that students can do anytime and anywhere. Multi-touch experiment instruction. Technically, there is various forms of multi-touch experiment instruction. There are two options for designing made. The instruction can be fully digital or a combination of digitally enriched analog experiment instruction. In this case, it certainly makes it easier for teachers to record the tracks of students doing learning like this and can streamline learning time very well. The thing that is not less important is that by using learning like this, we can make students more independent and able to work together, because the final result they got when doing the experiment using May could be corrected together with other friends. The last, what I have made this journal as a review material is the year of this journal in 2020. Today review will be divided into three parts. First, structure review, content review, and conclusion and suggestion. So let's start it. The first part is for structure review. Structure review, the first is title. Title is Multi-Touch Experiment Instruction for a Better Learning Outcome in Chemistry Education. And the next part, authors. Authors there is Johann Seiberg, Puk Lusenberg, Matthias, Vanessa Lang, Francisca, Christopher, and Johannes. The next is abstract. Multi-touch experiment instruction are interactive multimedia ebooks as a full digital or augmented reality instruction as a digital augmented material for the individual promotion of learning while experimenting in chemistry lesson. They provide a digitized experimental instruction, which is made to support both cognitive peaks and strong pupils in the sense of individualism. Next, there is keywords. For keywords, this journal is ICT, Science Education, Digital Media, Chemistry Education, Middle School, High School, Multimedia Learning. For introduction, digital media has become essential tools in all aspects of life, including education. In 2016, the Standing Conference of the Minister of Education and Cultural Affairs in Germany already adopted the competence in the digital world, and the German government implemented the digital peak. Unfortunately, there still is a lack of adequate application. Mainly responsible for this lack of practical and easy-to-use material, since ICT should not replace but more remain a tool that supports way of teaching. We will describe a competence-oriented method that can be used with or without digital input. The next is method. Well known as a representative of digital learning components are the multi-touch learning book, which are enriched with various digital or interactive tools. As Huer, Seiberg, and Brunken have shown, a multi-touch learning book consists of various smaller modules that can also be used individually. Such a module can be an interactive, medially enriched experimental instruction. A multi-touch experiment instruction. Technically, there are different forms of multi-touch experiment instruction. There are two options to decide a May. The instruction can be completely digital or the combination of digitally enriched analog experiment instruction. Both variants have specific advantages that can be used depending on the situation. The completely digital variant is easier to integrate into a multi-touch learning book and serve primarily to document the learning process. Next, there is result. After the pupils have performed this experiment, it is corrected by a peer-to-peer feedback to promote communication and collaboration between the pupils. The pink button, see Figure 6 Step 3, open a split pinboard that can be edited by any device. Thus, the pupil can share the result on demand and get additional ideas and control. The pupil will find a better possibility for differentiation behind the training button. See Figure 6 Step 4. This test can be done by pupils who have already completed and by pupils who are weak and want to repeat the content. This exercise repeats the basic knowledge necessary to complete the main experiment. After completing these 3 tasks and the experimental instruction, this section is finished. The next there is conclusion. The conclusion is multi-touch experiment instruction have the advantage for the teacher that digital aids, tasks, and visualization can be well organized. This means if the materials are used again, there is no need to sort them, check them for completeness, or even replace them like the analog equivalent. In this case, the temporal advantage becomes noticeable with regard to the administration of the materials. This temporal advantage also results on the part of the pupil, who can specifically seek help, since the system behind the help times and symbol remains unchanged, and the help is over with the respective exercise. The last for structure review is acknowledgement. We would like to thank the Federal Ministry of Education and Research for funding our work on individualization as part of the offensive learning building. The next topic is content review. For the first is purpose of this article. What is purpose of this article? Our project aims to create digital teaching material with a focus on competence acquisition in the digital world, taking into account empirically founded aspects such as the cognitive load theory of multimedia learning. Ideally, this could lead to a promotion of self-regulated learning. In consideration of CLTML and the didactic function of the digital media for deeper cognitive processing and more sustainable acquisition of competence. The DINFO model establishes the connection between digital individual prerequisites. The second of content review is method use of this article. A multi-touch experiment instruction is an interactive ebook or an augmented reality on an experimental instruction paper, in addition to the ebook or DAR. The pupils are provided with the standard laboratory equipment for experimenting. They may serve as a learning tool to support the pupils in case of difficulties. The support can be experimental, device, speech, or comprehension-driven. In addition to this individually, possibly step support the pupils have the opportunity to document and explain the result from the experiment directly in the e-book. The finished maze are stored as an e-book on iPads and can be retrieved at any time. The next there is result. In this journal, you can see in the PPT part of characterization of outcomes with the help of multi-touch experiment instruction as an interactive ebook. The aim in creating the materials was a consistently structured design of the materials in order to keep the cognitive load as low as possible through the presentation of the material. The center of the ebook is the navigation page. See Figure 2. From there, the pupil can select this test and choose his own learning path. Figure 2 presents the center side. The figure shows which action can be triggered on the page. By clicking on information button, see Figure 3 Tab 1, the available materials are shown in the text and image. The pictures are shown in the complete course of the e-book at the appropriate place as material. By clicking one of the 4 experiment buttons, see figure 3, tab 2, 3, 4, and 5, the pupil can navigate to the experiment of his own interest. The experiment has to be explained. For this purpose, the second button, see figure 6, step 2, is provided. Behind this exercise, there is a gap text which explains the chemical content on particle level, realized as by a drag and drop width. After the pupil have performed this experiment, it is corrected by a peer-to-peer feedback. To promote communication and collaboration between the pupil, the pink button, see figure 6 step 3, opens a split pinboard that can be edited by any device. Thus, the pupil can share the result on demand and get additional ideas and control. The pupils will find a broader possibility for differentiation behind the training button. See figure 6, step 4. This task can be done by pupils who have already completed by the pupils who are weak and want to repeat the content. This exercise repeats the basic knowledge necessary to complete the main experiment. After completing these 3 tasks and the experimental instruction, this section is finished. If, however, the pupil needs further assistance in planning, conducting, and explaining the experiment, they have the opportunity to obtain additional information. The right half of the page is intended for this purpose. On all 4 experimental pages, the pupil will find 4 different ways to help. Behind the button for equipment help, see figure 6, step 5. Picture of the equipment is given. For the semanticization, pictures and words of the equipment are used in order to enable optimal individualization. If the pupil have problems with the actual execution of the experiment, they get a short video by clicking the experimental help button. See figure 6, step 6, which shows a possible procedure of the experiment. Here, the pupil can reflect on his own experiment and correct them if necessary. In order to promote the ability to explain the chemical experiment, there is also a short video behind the comprehension help. See figure 6, step 7, to understand which repeats or explain the chemical content of the experiment. In this case, the focus is on the help for the preparation of the gap. See figure 6, step 2. The conclusion of this journal, in general, one can offer many different types of help at the appropriate place without the pupils having to search for the suitable help. First, pupils have a single document and the help is displayed in the appropriate place if the tablet so desires. A device memorable symbolize ensure that pupils who need language help, for example, can also specifically select them. The further advantage of the MAE is that dynamic content can also be displayed dynamically on the experiment instruction, whereas previously one had to resort up to an image sequence. First experience have shown that through the use of MAE, the pupils are much more motivated and interested in performing the experiment. However, it was also noticed that the first time using MAE in a class, a certain amount of introduction is necessary in order to minimize the cognitive load caused by the new material. Conclusion and suggestion for this article. The first, from this article as a whole, it meets the structure of the scientific paper, but at some point, such as the method in this journal, it is not written clearly. So you have to really read which section contains the method. And also this journal doesn't provide detailed example of application use, only provide a brief sample. So in the result section, it is not so detailed that in this journal the author gives an example of using MAE to get the result. Of course, students can easily understand the material because they can experiment virtually. However, in this journal, it can be a new knowledge from a teacher to use learning with MAE in an online era like this. Thank you for your attention. If you have any question and suggestion for my review, you can write in V class. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.